Randall Cobb stays within the great state of Texas. No longer playing for the Cowboys, though. He will be playing alongside Will Fuller and Kenny Stills in Houston. Deshaun Watson, he may have lost DeAndre Hopkins, but it didn't take Bill O'Brien long to go out there and find a veteran receiver who can be reliable as a slot guy or on the outside for the Texans. Cobb signs a 3-year, $27 million deal with $18.7 guaranteed. I'm sure it was a big deal for Cobb to go to a team that still had chance at winning something, at going to the playoffs, at making something happen. He's a veteran player and signed with Dallas for a low contract 1-year deal last year. It worked out for him. He had a big resurgence with Dallas. 55 catches, 828 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That was his best season really since 2015. So Cobb physically looked like a better player. He physically looked faster, quicker, more athletic. He's been dealing with injuries his whole career, but he's had some bright spots. 2014, he was a Pro Bowler with 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. I don't believe he's that player anymore, but I do think he's a complimentary add to this offense, and I do think what Cobb will bring to this Texans offense is some of the things that Hopkins brought in terms of his ability to catch the ball underneath a defense and make a play underneath a defense. You know, the Texans have Kenny Stills and Fuller, who are stretch the field kind of guys. Cobb is more that slot receiver who's going to make damage and run those routes underneath. And probably we'll see him catch around 60 passes again this year because that will be valuable to Deshaun Watson. And Bill O'Brien, he knows how to utilize those slot receivers. So I think that the Texans, it sucks to lose DeAndre Hopkins. You have David Johnson. I think an interesting part is you have 2 players now in David Johnson and Randall Cobb who will help replace the underneath production of Hopkins. But the big plays that Hopkins made on 3rd down, his big catches in the red zone, his big catches one-on-one will have to be replaced somehow, some way. And it really doesn't look like the Texans have that replacement at the moment. But they do still have the speed. And now they bring in a little bit of quickness and a little bit of savviness underneath. So Randall Cobb, the contract, it's not bad. The only thing I will say about it is that you're giving a veteran player with a lot of injury history a contract for $20 million guaranteed. That's a little risky to me. So Bill O'Brien, he's made some interesting moves as a general manager. This is another one. But I really thought Randall Cobb coming in this free agency was one of the more underrated receivers on the board in free agency. And the Texans land Randall Cobb to be their slot receiver for 2020 and hopefully help replace a little bit of what DeAndre Hopkins gave them. So there you go. Randall Cobb to the Houston Texans.